May 16, 1943, Western Germany, 12:28 a.m. A 30-ton Avro Lancaster bomber flies through the darkness at exactly 232 miles per hour. It is exactly 60 feet above the black water of the Möhne Reservoir. Not 65 feet, not 55 feet, exactly 60 feet. If the pilot pulls up, anti-aircraft fire from the concrete towers ahead will tear the fuselage apart. If the pilot dips down, the massive four-engine aircraft will clip the water, cartwheel, and disintegrate. Below the aircraft, suspended in a specially modified bomb bay, hangs a cylindrical steel drum weighing 9,250 pounds. A hydraulic motor is spinning the drum backward at 500 revolutions per minute. The vibration shakes the entire airframe. Wing Commander Guy Gibson stares through the canopy. Half a mile ahead is a solid wall of masonry, the Möhne Dam. It is 130 feet thick at its base. It is holding back 130 million tons of water. German engineers consider it completely indestructible. The British Air Ministry considers attacking it a suicide mission. Gibson presses the release button. The spinning steel cylinder drops into the darkness. It does not plunge into the water. It hits the surface and bounces. A 9,000-pound drum of high explosives skips across the water like a thrown stone, leaping over the submerged torpedo nets, hurtling straight toward the indestructible wall. This weapon defies conventional physics. It defies conventional military doctrine, and it is about to break the spine of the German war machine. But the weapon currently flying through the dark German air wasn't designed by a military general. It was designed by an eccentric 54-year-old civilian engineer who spent 3 years fighting his own government just to prove that a bomb could bounce. London, 1940, 3 years earlier. Germany is outproducing Britain in weapons. The heart of this industrial monster is the Ruhr Valley. You cannot bomb its hundreds of heavily defended factories. But the factories require water. The electricity requires water. That water is held by 3 massive hydroelectric dams, the Möhne, the Eder, and the Sorpe. Break the dams and the German war machine starves. There is just one problem. The Möhne Dam is an architectural mountain, 130 feet thick at its base. The Royal Air Force calculates that destroying it from the air would require a 60,000-pound bomb. The largest British bomber can barely carry 10,000 pounds. The Royal Navy suggests aerial torpedoes, but the Germans have suspended heavy steel torpedo nets across the reservoir. Torpedoes will hit the steel and detonate harmlessly 100 yards away. The targets are locked, unbreakable from above, unreachable from below. Barnes Wallis refuses to accept the math. Weybridge, England, 1941. Wallis is an aircraft designer at Vickers Armstrongs. He understands structural integrity. He knows attacking the top of the dam is useless. Blast energy simply dissipates into the open air. But water is incompressible. If you detonate an explosive directly against the wall, deep underwater, hydrostatic shock will punch a hole straight through the solid masonry. A mere 6,000 pounds of explosive would be enough. But how do you deliver it past the torpedo nets? Wallis remembers skipping stones as a child. He sets up a tin tub of water in his garden and fires glass marbles. They sink. Then he alters his catapult to impart a backspin. He fires again. The marble hits the water, grips the surface tension, and leaps forward. Wallis runs the mathematics. If a cylindrical bomb weighing 9,000 pounds is spun backward at 500 RPM, dropped from exactly 60 feet at 232 miles per hour, it will skip right over the steel torpedo nets. When it strikes the dam, the backspin will force it to crawl down the wall to a depth of 30 feet, where hydrostatic fuses will trigger. He calls it upkeep. The Air Ministry tells Wallis he is insane. They say the bomb will shatter upon impact, and no pilot can fly a bomber at 60 feet in pitch darkness. But Winston Churchill sees the reports and overrules the ministry. In February 1943, Wallis gets the green light. The catch: reservoir water levels peak in late May. Wallis and the RAF have exactly 3 months to build a non-existent weapon and train a squadron for an impossible mission. The Reculver Coast, March 1943.
The testing phase is brutal. Half-scale wooden prototypes shatter instantly. Water at 200 miles per hour hits like concrete. With 6 weeks left, Wallis abandons wood. He switches to a pure steel cylinder packed with 6,600 pounds of Torpex, an explosive 50% more powerful than TNT. The steel cylinder drops, bounces, and survives. Now the delivery system. The RAF has assembled Squadron 617, led by 24-year-old Wing Commander Guy Gibson. Flying at 60 feet at night is terrifying. Standard barometric altimeters fluctuate by 20 feet. A 20-foot error at that altitude means hitting the water and dying. The engineers mount 2 Aldis spotlights onto the belly of the Lancaster, angled inward. When the aircraft is exactly at 60 feet, the light beams converge into a perfect figure 8 on the water below. Next, they need distance. The bomb must drop at precisely 426 yards from the dam. Standard bomb sights are useless. An officer devises a wooden triangle with 2 nails. The dam's towers are 600 feet apart. When the towers align perfectly with the nails through a peephole, the bomber is exactly 426 yards away. By May 15th, the meteorologists report clear skies. The mission is dubbed Operation Chastise. Scampton Airfield, May 16, 1943, 9:28 p.m. 19 Lancaster bombers rumble down the runway. To avoid radar, they cross the English Channel at 100 feet. Flying so low is a nightmare. One Lancaster hits a power line and explodes. Another is struck by flak and plummets into the sea. A third hits a tree and turns back. At 12:15 a.m., Gibson spots the Moan Reservoir. He drops into the valley. The bombardier switches on the spotlights. 2 circles appear on the black water. Down, the navigator calls. Hold. The circles merge into a figure 8. The aircraft is locked at 60 feet. In the bomb bay, the hydraulic motor screams, spinning the 9,000-pound cylinder. German anti-aircraft gunners open fire, shooting horizontally at the bomber. The bombardier stares through the wooden triangle. The concrete towers align with the nails. Bomb gone. The spinning cylinder hits the water, erupting in white spray. It bounces, leaps 30 feet into the air, skips over the torpedo nets, and strikes the dam. The backspin grips the stone. It sinks. 7 seconds later, a 300-foot column of water blasts into the sky. But as the water settles, the dam remains intact. Gibson calls in Flight Lieutenant John Hopgood. The German gunners are ready. Hopgood's Lancaster catches fire. He releases his bomb late. It bounds over the dam, detonating on the power station. The burning bomber stalls and explodes. Gibson realizes the gunners are too accurate. He calls in Mickey Martin. Gibson deliberately flies his own aircraft parallel to the dam with his lights on, drawing the German fire so Martin can make a clean run. Martin drops at 60 feet. The bomb skips and detonates perfectly. The dam shudders, but holds. Dinky Young makes the 4th run. Perfect drop. The wall cracks. Gibson calls in David Maltby. The spotlights merge. The wooden sights align. The bomb skips 3 times and sinks. A massive underwater explosion shakes the valley. The masonry finally gives way. A breach 250 feet wide opens in the center of the Moan Dam. A 30-foot wall of water, 130 million tons, surges into the valley below. The remaining aircraft press on to the Etter Dam. After multiple failed runs in a fog-choked valley, pilot Les Knight drops his bomb perfectly. The Etter shatters, unleashing another 200 million tons of water. The aftermath. The morning reveals apocalyptic destruction. A tidal wave has swept 50 miles down the Ruhr Valley. Factories are flooded, power stations are wiped off the map. German industrial production drops by 1/3 for months. Thousands of troops are pulled from the front lines to repair the infrastructure. The human cost is horrific. 1,600 people drown, including over 1,000 forced laborers. The cost to Squadron 617 is catastrophic. Of the 19 Lancasters, 8 do not return. 53 British airmen are killed, an attrition rate of over 40% in a single night. When Barnes Wallis hears the casualty list, he's devastated. He vows never to risk lives like that again, permanently shifting his focus to high-altitude earthquake bombs.
The bouncing bomb was never used again. It was too specific, designed for one exact moment and one exact enemy. But the myth of the impregnable Ruhr Valley was shattered. A seemingly invincible fortress of concrete and steel was broken by an eccentric engineer playing with marbles in a tin tub. Squadron 617 became known forever as the Dam Busters, and the bouncing bomb remains a permanent testament to the lethality of desperation and the raw power of human engineering.